Browns 0-8 at home. Just sad.
I haven't heard you this down since Dr. Brown got fired. It's a game that we were in, and it's a game that we just don't finish.
I don't want to watch anymore.
Why? Why does that happen? I'm so sick of watching those plays.
0-16.
I definitely do not want to watch it all 22.
That's up and down to me. That looks like dysfunction. Surviving the Season, episode 15 of Season 3. The season is upon us, our first preview show of the year. Hooray, hooray, hooray. The crowd goes wild. Live from the Baywater Studios in Tampa, Florida. I am your host, Adam. Greg is here.
Yo, what's happening?
What up?
What is good?
Football is back. Officially.
Yes, it is. Ready to roll today.
A lot to go through. Hard Knocks is wrapped up. That's done. We'll go through that quickly today. We have a Steelers preview. We'll make some predictions. And we'll probably talk about some other shit.
Football tonight, actually, too. How about that?
Mhm.
Games are starting tonight. So I'm super pumped about that, even though it's not even the Browns.
Meaningful football games will be played. Is that a meaningful game? Well, who's playing tonight? Atlanta, Philly?
Yep, big time.
Yeah, I guess that
big
is
time
meaningful.
game there.
Yeah.
Dude, Philly was so bad in the preseason. It could be interesting to see if they get it together. What if, Carson Wentz is out a couple weeks here and Philly just can't find a way to win a game with Foles and, could put them behind the 8 ball early. Yeah, they're just dealing with so many offseason issues, injuries and whatnot, that's going to be a tough game for them. And Atlanta wants that game bad. They didn't feel too good about losing that game to them last year.
Yeah, in Philly. So Atlanta's got to go on the road to start the season. That's fun. First game.
Should be
I don't
be a
even know
good
who's
one.
on their fucking team, so I'll have to watch. Okay. All I'm doing is rooting for ex-Browns. If there's any ex-Browns on the Eagles or Falcons, I will be supporting them.
Alex Mack.
Just for Twitter.
Hashtag could have had him.
Yeah, that's entertaining.
What about,
to say the least?
You don't just follow the Browns that we had. You also got to follow the Browns we could have had if we would have drafted them. Could have had Wentz. Look at him standing over there on the sidelines without a uniform on. That big, sexy beast could have been ours.
Could have had him. All right, let's get down to business. Hard Knocks is over. That's a cool episode, really, about like the internal workings of cutting people and like real world
Heartbreak.
Yeah. That was about the most interesting part of the entire series.
I don't know if I ever saw. I watched all the Hard Knocks. I can't remember one where every player they spotlight, like that was part of a, hey, we're going to spotlight this guy and try to get the behind the scenes on him, that they all got cut. It was pretty strange. Usually you have one or two, they're all bubble guys typically. But usually there's a couple guys that'll make the team and then a couple guys that don't make the team. So you see, a couple guys that are feeling victorious and a couple guys that are down trying to find out what's next in life, what's to come. That's the one thing about Hard Knocks. I mean, that's why it's called Hard Knocks, is if they were using the star players, they would probably come up with a different name rather than Hard Knocks. The whole point of it when it came out was we're going to take the bottom tier players and just the guys at the bottom of the 53 and see what it's like to be them. I feel like it would have been a lot more interesting with this team had they been able to spotlight some of the guys that are actually going to be a big focus of this team to get us from 0-16 to where we're going, because 0-16 was the Hard Knocks for the Browns fans. 1-31, that's Hard Knocks. Okay, so we don't need to spotlight the guys on the end of the roster. I want to see Duke Johnson. We didn't get to see any Duke Johnson. You might as well just give me an episode of just Myles Garrett. I'd be all for that. I want to see the guys that are going to rebuild the Browns, but this is the way that the show's always been set up, so I kind of knew that was going to happen. It was fun to see the behind-the-scenes things. I don't know if the Browns can really take away anything, if it's good for them. If it was bad. I don't think anything that negative happened to anybody on the team. I don't think anything that bad that you could take away and you can go, this player sort of just ruined his shot because we see he's like a major dick. If anything, if the only bad thing that we saw was basically just Hugh and the way Hugh sort of runs the team that you could take away. What did you think?
Yeah, Hugh kind of made himself look stupid quite a few times, probably.
Yeah.
Again, who knows how it's all edited out, but
just as like a weak leader is what you come away with. That's and we talked about it. He's not the only players coach in the league. There's other players coaches. Peterson just won a Super Bowl. He's known to be a players coach. Tomlin. But I think you can be a players coach and still demand respect and be the one, like the focus. It almost is like Hugh's not even the focus of the players. They're more focused on what Greg Williams is saying or what Todd Haley's saying, and Hugh's voice is secondary. It's a strange setup that the Browns are working with there.
Yeah, I have a bunch of notes from the episode. I don't think we need to go through the whole episode because it's...
You don't want to?
Well, I mean, if we can do it quickly.
Okay. First scene was Michael Kendricks. He's getting... He got the federal indictment. The takeaway from that one was Haley just saying, so you don't know all the details, obviously, but do you know, is he going to jail? So then Hugh's in the team meeting, and he lets everybody know we're going to release Michael Kendricks, and that was it there. And then they cut to scene 2, Devin Cajuste, who was a main character.
Real quick with scene 1, though, was did they find out about Kendricks on the TV? Because they're watching the TV, like...
You never know how these things really play out, do you? You just don't know because it's edited down.
It was funny. Dorsey looked funny when he was watching it. Like, what? He looked so confused.
Well, he was one of the people they asked. He's like, trying to get all the details now. I don't know. He told me he wasn't involved. I believed every last word. I've never not believed one of my players. Son of a bitch, people lie. So scene 2 was back to Devin Cajuste. He's talking with Al Saunders, it's hard to believe this guy. My takeaway with Al Saunders is he's an old guy.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like talking to somebody's grandpa or something. That's what it reminded me of. And he was coaching Corey Coleman 2 years ago, and I just don't see... I feel like your position coach should probably be relatable to you in some way. I'm not sure how these players really relate to Al Saunders. And I'm not saying... Al Saunders could be the nicest man and a great coach and whatnot, but at the same time, when you're dealing with a guy on a personal level where he's your main focus on a day in, day out, I don't know how Al Saunders and Corey Coleman could have anything
right
that makes them compatible. It's a strange thing to think of him as our wide receiver coach 2 years ago and leading that group of guys. And now you kind of see where that wide receiver room went, and you wonder. I mean, you look at the guy who's there now, Adam Henry. That's the kind of guy that I would have wanted to see with Corey Coleman in year 1,
Yeah.
Do you recognize? Do you see the difference there? I mean, the way Al Saunders is talking to here, he's very. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but even when he's talking to Nate Orchard later in the show, he comes over and he's talking to him about his children. Hey, there's your children. They're going to be at home really happy to see Daddy score. That's kind of stuff like you talk to your grandpa about. Not like it's just different. It's a different. It seems like a different relationship there with Al Saunders than other people. But he's having this discussion with Al Saunders, and Cajuste said, I just don't know how it's going to pan out. Saunders is saying, hey, you had a great week of practice. People always remember the last thing you do, so Thursday night is huge for you. You've been like you're like the stock market, but you're constantly going up. So he was saying some good things to Cajuste there.
Yeah, but did you notice like he's as he's saying that stuff, he's backing out of the door, like he's trying to get out of the room. He's walking backwards, like, no, yeah, you had a great week. Everything's gonna be fine, man. Oh, you did great.
Definitely not going to get
lying
cut.
To him. He knows he's already cut. He's like, we're just going to use you Thursday to take up some reps because I don't want my other guys to get hurt. And then he like just sneaks out he's literally backing up the whole time. He's telling him everything's going to be fine, dude. You're good. He's like ninjaing out the door.
So then
I could see it if it kept going. Saunders is down the hallway, like, yeah, dude, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Keep it up, Devin. Keep it up. I'll be in my office.
If someone's trying to get out of a conversation with you, and as soon as they start walking backwards, they're done talking to you. Just wrap it up.
So then you cut to John Dorsey, who's talking, saying, "Hey, Kajus has had a really nice preseason. His blocking's really picked up, and he's talking to Hugh, and Hugh says this is a big game for him." Cut to scene 3. They're out. Kirksey's dancing. Haley's outside watching Kirksey. There's nothing really to take from this scene other than Haley comments that people are walking to church having to listen to the Browns' loud rap music going on as they're getting ready for church, which is kind of funny. But scene 4, Nassib and Orchard scenes. Carl, there's some plays with Carl Nassib making some nice plays, and Greg Williams saying some good things on things he was doing. And I thought Carl Nassib bull rushes one of the ends, the tackles. I thought it was Harrison at first, and somebody mentioned
Robinson, right?
Greg Robinson. It was Greg Robinson,
yeah.
And that's surprising. Greg Robinson is a big human being, and he got absolutely just tossed by Carl Nassib there.
Yeah.
So then, and then there's some Nate Orchard in there, and you go to Clyde Simmons talking in the coaches meeting, and he says about Nate, he knows where to go, he knows what to do, but he's playing timid to me. I gotta try to find a way to get him to be more consistent. And I think that's been true of Nassib or Orchard ever since he's been with the Browns. Like there's been some flash plays here and there, but he's never been consistent. And I think a lot of it has to do with what they're asking him to do. It might not be the best fit for him, and now he's gone off to somewhere else. So hopefully he can find somewhere to fit in. But that was a little bit of foreshadowing of what was to come. And then we flash back to Miles, which I like this scene. Miles is working with Orchard about Orchard's stance.
Oh yeah, Orchard said he had a different stance in run plays and a different stance for pass rush or something like that.
Yes, which is hard to believe. He's been here. This is the kind of stuff where it looks bad on your coaching staff.
Yeah, because
this shouldn't be Myles Garrett recognizing the things or Myles Garrett should be focusing on Myles Garrett. And it's nice that he's going to sit here and you're going to work. Of course, you're going to work with whoever, any team that you've ever been on. We play on the same team. Here's when you do this, try this, or you're in wrestling. Oh, here's a move, try this. You're in, it doesn't matter. Of course, you're going to work with people on techniques and ways to get better. That just makes sense. But for the coaches to allow Orchard to go 3 years with a different stance when he thought it was run and when he thought it was pass, how is that not a tip to the defense that if they recognize that, hey, every time Orchard's like this, he's expecting run. When Orchard's doing this, he's blitzing. It doesn't make sense. And seems like terrible coaching. So then Miles is out there showing him the proper way to do it, and Miles is taking pass pro sets, and he looks pretty damn good. I thought that was a good scene just for Miles in general, just like how this guy is all about his craft, that he's trying to be the best and he's trying to do it the right way every single time. And he's there for his teammates to help him out. So I really like that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Scene 5, Todd Haley back in the meeting room with the players. We're still competing. There's a lot of shuffling around in this league. I'm not telling you that to be a dick. I'm telling you that to help you earn a spot. And if it's not here, it could be somewhere else. And he also says if it's not, and you might not be, or you're trying to earn spots for this team, but it might not just be with the guys that are only in this room. It could be with guys that are on other teams, which was some foreshadowing because we know that's exactly what happened. There was 5 waiver claims made after the cuts. So it meant 5 guys earned their stripes and then subsequently lost their stripes when they brought in 5 guys they thought were better from others. So that just shows everything you do is put on tape. All these preseason games are on tape, and every single organization is watching it, and they're going to find a guy that they like. And if you're not doing it right, even though you're an organization, Caleb Brantley might have been the fourth best defensive tackle for the Browns. The Browns said, yeah, but he's not there's better ones out there right now. And then they make that move.
We could do an upgrade. Let's get an upgrade. You're on your way. Also, not my guy.
Not my guy, exactly. And what you mean by that is John Dorsey didn't draft Caleb Brantley and then owes basically nothing to him. So if he even sees a lateral move, he may make it at that point. Scene 6 was Brogan making fun of Bob Wiley's belly when he says hut. Bob Wiley saying how he's never had a real job in his life, flew planes and coached football. Scene 7, Kaju's dad can't make the trip because his heart issues. And then you get to the game, okay, versus the Lions. Todd Haley and Landry have a secret handshake. There's that. Baker, very little Baker. I wish there was more Baker, but I love anytime Baker talks when he's on the football field, he's in command.
Yeah.
He said, give me some first play. Give me some fucking time here, and we might score on the first play. What do? They throw it 31 yards to Cajuste. So, he knows. He knows what's up. He knows what he's doing here. Cajuste rolls both ankles during the thing, has to get him taped up. He was hobbling around a little bit. Nate Orchard jumps up, gets the TD. We see that. There's a whole cut scene. That was great for him, and that's when Coach came over. Hey, there's some really babies at home, in his grandpa voice. They're going to be really excited that you scored, Then, Nate Orchard said, did I look like Josh Gordon out there when he was running, which is pretty funny. Brogan Roebuck, he's out there talking quite a bit himself. He said, he comes in, let's get some fucking touchdowns, right? Let's run this up. So he's pretty hype. And then flash to his girlfriend, she's super nervous and crying when Brogan throws his touchdown and whatnot.
He went and got the ball.
Yeah, which was good for him. They show Cajuste hold, and Hugh says Cajuste has got like 4 penalties tonight. That was a bit of foreshadowing for what was soon to come. And then and then after that, it was the end of the game or whatever. Brogan's out there with his girlfriend. She's crying. And this is when you texted me and you go, now I actually feel bad that I made fun of Brogan and his girlfriend. So I could imagine you at the exact time you were shedding a tear going, I love them too. I love Broby and her she loves Broby.
No, I think I texted you in the next scene because I was a little behind when they cut him, and then he goes and gets into his Toyota Camry, his 7-year-old car, and you're like, God damn, that sucks. The kid had no chance from the beginning to make the team. He's out there.
No, not a chance.
Getting
at all.
a couple $100 a week or whatever they get, just. And then you're like, oh fuck, he's gonna get cut now, and then you get to watch it. But for us, it's just that dude's cut. We don't need to even talk about the quarterbacks. Here's the 3 quarterback room.
Yeah, he didn't stand a chance. And Hugh even says that. After the game, he said, wanted to thank everybody. Those that are staying, we have a lot of work to do. Those that are leaving, we will help you out any way we can. And then they get to where the cuts come. And first, they have a coaches meeting. And Haley looks over at Greg Williams and he says, kind of quietly, I'm beginning to find out you have no life outside of this. And Greg Williams says, none. I go see my granddaughter every once in a while. And Haley said, yeah, I saw your schedule, and then I began to realize that he has no life. So, and then go to Elliot Wolf, who is the assistant general manager and is a babyface assassin. Good Lord. This guy, I was like, is this guy out of high school? How young does this guy look? For Christ's sakes, Elliot Wolf, and then he even talks like it. Hey, Brogan, if you don't mind coming in, I'd like to talk to you.
He must be the guy that has to make the call.
Yeah, the Turk is what they always call what they call him. Usually, the guy that makes the cuts. So yeah, he calls Brogan.
Said, unfortunately, we're gonna need to see you.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we're gonna need to see you. Oh,
bring
Because I
Bring
guess
your
that all the
playbook.
players know. Yeah.
If you get called by the Turk, you're done. But it was great when he called Brogan because he said, "Hey, it's Elliot Wolf with the Browns." have you never met him before? You're the assistant general manager. You just said your name and then you had to remind him that he is either Broby is that stupid that he's not even sure who Elliot Wolf is, or you've never introduced yourself to this guy. Hey, it's Elliot Wolf with the Browns. I was like, what the fuck? Of course it is. Of course you're with the Browns. So then Hugh's talking to Brogan, and he said, you represented yourself well. You walk proud. You walk out of here proud. It was tough for you. You had a Heisman. You had 2 vets in front of you, but you did everything you had to do. Be very proud of yourself. And Brogan was all class. Said thank you for the opportunity. And then Elliot calls Cajuste. He said, it's that conversation. We're going to let you go. But he had some nice words to say. He goes, because they were in Green Bay. He goes, you've progressed from the first day when you were with the Packers. You got thrown down to the ground by Julius Peppers, and that got a laugh out of Cajuste. It's the transition from wide receiver to tight end that you've made. You just have a little bit longer to go, get better in the blocking sort of thing. So some encouragement and whatnot for Cajuste. Hugh to Cajuste, same thing.
He leads him down to Hugh's office, which is funny. It's like, all right, well, I'll take you to see the coach.
Yeah,
so the coach can say some more empty words to you.
Yep, just disappointment. But what? You don't want to burn your
is a perfect interviewee. Like, do you see he's like attentive, eyes forward, sitting up straight. He doesn't have to affirm everything that the person says. He's not always like nodding his head or nothing. He just sat there, took it in. Very professional. He's the kind of dude that you bring in for an interview, for a job, and you hire the dude right away just because you can tell, like, oh, okay, this dude's business.
He's the guy that you bring in case you have to fire him 3 months later because he's always positive. That's exactly the way that just worked. They brought him in for 3 months, they fired him, and he was still positive. Cajuste has that personality where he's always seems to be happy. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm cut. Okay, great. What's next? Because we're just going to keep moving. I think if more people had that personality, the world would be a better place, to be honest. But Cajuste basically just said, Hugh said the same thing, represented yourself well, it's business, blah, blah, blah. Cajuste says it's God's plan. So it is what it is. I'll go get better at blocking and come back and try again. But yeah, Cajuste is a super balanced dude. I don't know if it's his rocks. I don't know what it is, what keeps him so balanced, but he seems to have just a spectacular personality. And I think the sky's the ceiling for that kid. He just got to keep getting bigger.
Yeah, Hugh is uncomfortable as hell during these exit interviews, but of all of them, Orchard and Nassib were both very pissed. Probably understandably, Nassib was upset, and I think Orchard was probably more upset. I don't think that those dudes have been in the league long enough that they don't need to hear the coach tell them, oh, you're going to get on somewhere, and it's all business. It's always all business until you don't want to be franchise tagged for a second year in a row, and then you hold out, and then they talk shit about you in the media. But it's all business up until then.
I thought all of them were very classy, and I thought Nassib wasn't even a bit upset about it. Like I thought he came in, he's like
pissed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't think that he was very cordial about it. He's like, hey,
absolutely, yeah.
I'll get picked up.
I'm
somewhere.
not saying that he didn't. Yeah. He. There's nothing wrong with his demeanor. I don't think he really much cared for Hugh's exit talk.
Well, who gives a shit? Yeah,
which I wouldn't either. Yeah,
talk from.
Just tell me I'm fired. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah,
give me my shit.
Well, in between the cutting, even in between the guys getting cut, there was they flash over to the Khalil Mack to the Bears trade for 2 number ones, and Hugh saying, "Whoa, 2 number ones? That's a lot." And he's sitting there with what's the tight ends coach? Seaman is his last name. I can't remember what his first name is, but
yeah.
He said, "How much is he? How much is he going for?" And he said, $24 million a year is what he's looking for. And he says, "I didn't know they had that kind of room. That's QB money." Well, we do have that kind of room, and we did have those picks to give up, and we should have, in my opinion, gave it up. But you could tell that they had no interest in making that kind of move.
I wonder what they did offer, because I think there was an offer from
there's been a lot of rumors about what it was. It was a first, a third, and it was a linebacker and a cornerback. So if it's a first, a third, they said a veteran linebacker that would either be Collins or Kirksey. But why would they want to take on that kind of money with Collins? And then a cornerback, which would be probably Gaines or Carey, Mike Jordan, somebody on that level. Not a top guy, but a guy that's a backup, but still able to start or play. Couldn't have been TJ Carey because the Raiders just didn't sign him, so they wouldn't have traded TJ Carey back. So I imagine EJ Gaines. So there was that. And then Elliott talks to Orchard, like you said, same thing. And then they talked to Nassib also. And in between that, Callaway. I don't know why they acted like Callaway was on the bubble. He was never on the bubble on this team, was he? That was weird to me. But he's talking to Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown says, "We only have 16 limited opportunities, so we have to be greedy. I expect to get a lot of tutties, a lot of celebrations out of you." So some classy words there.
What do you think Elliot Wolf's Chinese tattoo reads?
Oh, he does not. I didn't even notice it. He's
got a Chinese tattoo on his left inside of his left arm. What do you think it says?
What's
the chosen one?
What?
The chosen one?
No. What's the word where get a job or something just because of your family? What is that called?
That's exactly what I was thinking too. It's called.
What is it?
I want to say patricide, but that's when you kill your family.
No, I don't think it says that. Holy shit!
It's something shit. I can't remember, but that's also what I was going to say. It's like my dad was a great GM.
Hold on,
like a tattoo artist with a great sense of humor. We're going to tattoo Serenity on the inside of your arm. And then it just says, like, Daddy got me this job.
Yeah. Nepotism. That's what
nepotism. Yeah. It's the Chinese symbol for nepotism. That's great.
I didn't even notice that he had a tattoo. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Getting to the end here. Hugh calls in Baker and Drew Stanton. And I couldn't believe it. I was shocked first. I was like, what is this meeting after it happened? He says, "I want to address both of you first. It's important that you hear it from me." And he tells them, Baker is the number 2, and you're the number 3. That's the direction I want to travel in. And then he says to Stanton, "Can you give me a minute? I want to talk to Baker." He says to Baker, "I'm proud of what you've done. You've handled everything the right way. You're a very talented young man. Keep grinding. I'm going to continue to challenge you to do even more. You've earned it. I'm not just giving it to you." And Baker is now the second quarterback. Somebody
hilarious.
said yes. Now I couldn't believe this because I'm like, no shit. Baker's the second quarterback. Stanton hasn't even played. Even if you go to the practices, half the time he doesn't even have a jersey on, or doesn't even have pads on. He's just off to the side. He's nowhere near has the ability of what Baker Mayfield does. We've seen all the games. Baker's playing nonstop. Stanton gets how many? What did he play? Like 17 snaps the entire time. It's hilarious that he had this meeting. This is the kind of thing that the press keeps bringing up to him. Well, who's the backup quarterback? And we always say, this is a stupid question. Who cares who the backup quarterback is? At one, why is that even a question that we're asking? We already know who it is, too. And then meanwhile, Hugh's really having these discussions. Like it's a real thing. Who's the backup quarterback? I got to address this with you guys. Baker, you're the backup quarterback. So somebody says to me, "Oh, no, that was from mini camps. They just must have put it on there." And I was thinking, oh,
like
okay.
They edited it in.
They edited
to the
it in.
Show.
Yes. Maybe you're right. That would make more sense because he did end up giving Baker snaps with the 2s in minicamp way back then. So then when I'm rewatching it, I'm looking at the TV behind him, And it's the Michigan Notre Dame game that just happened on Saturday. He literally just had this discussion with them on Saturday night or Sunday. He's just now letting them know. It is the complete opposite of what they did with DeShone Kizer. I wish they would have been in there last year when they had sat down those three quarterbacks and they said DeShone Kizer gives us the best chance to win. They probably would have had the complete opposite look of Stanton going, have you seen this dude throw pick after pick? What are you talking about? DeShone Kizer's not ready to play. This is crazy. And meanwhile, they turn around this year and they wait all the way until just this last week to do it. It's unbelievable to me. I cannot believe it.
I'm not sure what that was all about, but we still don't know who's playing left tackle, so I guess Dude. There's no reason to think that we would know who the backup quarterback is until
he's named the backup quarterback before he named the starting left tackle.
Spectacular.
So then, to finish up the entire thing, Hugh has a speech to the team. Change has come. 59% of this team has totally changed. Whole bunch of guys who had to go. They still wish they were here right now. Those of you that are here, you guys are here for one reason. That's because you earned your stripes, and you're here to win. Cleveland Browns win football games. Everybody understand that? Yes, everybody says. You're here for no other reason. You are here for no other reason. That's what it is, says Hugh. That was Hugh's big speech. Cleveland Browns win football games. After I saw that, when they said those of you that are here you're here for one reason, you earned your stripes. I feel like Jamie Meter should get honorary stripes. The guy earned his stripes.
Yeah, right?
He earned his stripes. He's earned his stripes. Nobody's gone above and beyond what their physical attributes are than Jamie Meter. Just send the guy his stripes in the mail. Make sure he gets those. Otherwise, I'm going to be upset. And then one more final quote by Greg Williams. He's talking to the defense, and he's saying, you linebackers have got to maintain your gap. And he says, points at his nuts, put your testicles in the C gap, he says.
Yeah.
So.
Great visual, Greg. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Greg and Greg.
Greg
awesome.
and Greg.
Yes.
He's Greg with more G's.
Yeah.
All right. That is it for Hard Knocks. So
I gotta say, thank you for keeping that brief. I am proud of you for dragging us through that scene by scene. I appreciate that very much.
That's what I'm here for.
So the changing, what was it? Hugh said 59% of the roster has changed or whatever.
Yes.
And we talked about this a little bit yesterday.
Yes.
And you looked up some other teams, I believe.
Well, I only looked up a couple because here's the thing. On every single roster, half of your roster is interchangeable at any moment because they're just average dudes. There is really, and really it's more than that. Your roster has to be built upon foundational pieces, and those are guys that are going to be here for a long time. And those are guys that are really hard to get in the draft. Those are guys that you maybe will you'll hit on, 35, 40% of your picks in the draft. That's across the league. Every team. If you go and look at every team's draft picks, there's a ton of guys that don't pan out. And it's for this reason. They are just Jags, just another guy. They are not these elite guys. It is hard to get elite players. But when you do, you keep them. The elite players that were picked up there is none before 2015. Zero. Well, Duke Johnson. Zero. I'm sorry. Duke Johnson. And if you want to consider Christian Kirksey that, you can. I don't put him in that group. I'm not a big Christian Kirksey fan of his play. He's a great dude. He seems like a good leader, that kind of stuff. I don't think he's a great linebacker. Duke Johnson's a great player. But there was nothing here. John Dorsey came in, and he kept all the guys that are what we would call foundational pieces. It's Myles Garrett's. It's David Njoku's. It's the guys they had, Zeitler and what's his name?
Bitonio.
Bitonio is actually here before that year. So I take that one back. But those guys are the foundational pieces. Those are the guys that are going to stick on your roster no matter what. But there we had a ton of guys on an 0-16 team that are just average or below average players that you can just cycle through, and other teams do. And John Dorsey did that. And they say John Dorsey switched out 28 players from this year than last year. Well, yeah. And they act like that's unheard of. Well, the Raiders have switched out 31 this year. And then what's good teams do? I flip to the Patriots, go through it. How many players have the Patriots changed from 2016 starting or 17 starting roster to 2018 starting roster? 21 players. They went 13-3. This is normal. Every team does this. They're going to do it till the end of time. You can cycle through. And every time that you're going to get a new regime, you're going to cycle through the guys at the bottom of your roster. Always. It's always going to happen. Look at any team that changes over. Look at the Buffalo Bills in the past couple of years. They cycle through these guys. Look at Gruden. 31 players so far this year. It's going to happen. That's not a bad thing. It's not even a good thing. Look at the players that Dorsey's added. You have how many foundational pieces? You have Landry's a foundational piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't even say that about Tyrod. Tyrod's here for 1 year. And you know this grabbing Tyrod. So he's not a foundational piece. He's here for 1 year, and that's a bridge quarterback. Hopefully he hits on one of these corners, and they will be a foundational piece. One of them. If we get one out of these 3 cornerbacks that he signed to be a foundational piece, I consider that a good thing. Most people will say that's terrible. He did a terrible job. I would say no. He did a good thing. He was able to find one foundational piece to fit this defense because that's what we needed at the time. And he didn't spend a lot of money to do it. So that's the thing that we're searching for. That's the thing that these teams will always be searching for. And then it gets frustrating and people say, oh, well, they switched over. They have this whole new roster. We have a whole new back end of the roster. We don't have a whole new. You look at all the guys that were here that were good. They're still here. There's a lot of changes. There's always going to be a lot of changes. Now, there won't be as many next year because John Dorsey's brought his guys in. But when there's a turnover, how many times do we talk about this? You switch regimes, you switch coaches. A ton of your players are going to switch, and it's not always for the better. There's so many people. I see this on Twitter, and this drives me nuts. They go, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about because John Dorsey picked this guy up, therefore he's better. Why do we just assume that? Why do we assume that in the NFL, that if you work in the NFL, you're just superior to anybody else's football knowledge? You've got it figured out. They've proven the opposite of that over and over. They've proven that they've been horrible at their job more than what these guys have actually been good at their job, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have 20 new dudes at the bottom of the roster again next year, minimum. There's 53 dudes on the roster, and there's only going to be 47 on the active. So there's 6 dudes a week that don't even dress to play.
Yep.
Those dudes are automatically interchangeable.
Oh, not only are they, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
And then when you get to the end of a year, you bring in 40 more dudes, and then you just hope to get lucky on an undrafted free agent or somebody you like off the waiver wire. And then maybe, oh, look, we got Brian Body Calhoun. Like, okay, now he can be a foundational piece or at least a useful backup. That's one guy we got lucky on. And then, all right, turn over the other 40 at the bottom, and hopefully you catch another one. That's it. That's all the bottom of the roster is just a dartboard of names that hopefully somebody catches on.
You're looking for diamonds in a rough.
Yeah, the reality of the NFL is there's about 12 dudes on your roster that are making money, and everybody else is like interchangeable league minimum player.
And those are the guys that need to be really good. Those are the guys you have to hit on. You know, if you're paying a guy, you got to be paying him because he's really damn good. You can't be paying guys big money that are just average players. That's the problem that you run into with why teams. And you have to have a quarterback. I mean,
if you're trying to carry a bunch of vets, you cannot make your roster on free agency. It just doesn't work. You can't have a bunch of $10 million corners if you can have some undrafted free agent corners that can play almost as good as the big money guy. Because you can spend that $8 million like on a pass rusher or something like that, where those dudes are harder to find than a corner or a safety or a wide receiver. Even wide receivers, you got to kind of get lucky on. And then you have to replace, even mid-level veterans have to be replaced with rookie contracts. Have to be.
Yep. And that's where John Dorsey's been really good. He hasn't overpaid in free agency. You can say Landry, but outside of Landry, that's it. The other guys, he's just has a really pretty minimum contracts where he can get out of them in 1 or 2 years.
And even Landry's front loaded pretty good too. And
Landry's just such a position of need where we needed some stability. It makes sense, to overpay for that. That's what you do when you want to get a good player in free agency. You're going to overpay for it. So that's why you have to build through that draft. It's so important that you build your foundation through the draft, and they've done that in the last 3 years. You can look at these and they go, oh, well, there's only 5 players left over from 2016, and there's only 5 players left over from 2017. That's fine. That's good. That's what we should be having. You look at other teams' draft; they don't have 5 players. There are drafts that people do, but it's not a consistent thing where you get 5 foundational pieces out of your draft. That is just not the norm. I mean, their teams draft bad constantly, and it's hard to find these guys, and that's why you cycle through these guys until you do, and you keep turning the roster over until you find more and more of these guys that stick. I'm not saying, like I said in the last episode, is Carl Nassib a good player? No, he's just an average player. There's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing great. He just will go out there and do Carl Nassib things. It's nothing special. That's fine to have those players. You can't have 53 of those guys.
Right.
It's fine to have some of them, and they will, and they still have some of those guys that are in that league, in that same tier. We just hope to get more guys that are on the Myles Garrett tier, so we're working there. It's getting closer. This roster is getting a lot closer to complete, and the better that Baker Mayfield plays, and the closer Baker Mayfield gets to the field, the better the Browns are going to be.
Yeah, the roster building trick is this is why I would if I'm drafting high overall, I'm drafting the top 10. I'm taking the best pass rusher on the board, or I'm taking the best quarterback on the board.
Yeah, or corner now, because it comes down to cover pass offense, pass defense. That's how you win. We know that. Yeah. We know that. That is not even, there's not even a question. It used to be you got to stop the run. Defense wins championships. I will argue every day, offense wins championships now. Offense wins championships. Show me in the last couple of years where you can have a bad offense and you win a championship. It doesn't happen. You can have a great defense and get close, a la the Jags, but you can't win a Super Bowl with just having a great defense alone.
Yeah. Preview?
Yes, preview.
Preview. You got anything else on roster building?
No, that's it. I didn't know we were getting into roster building today either. Let's do that preview.
Pittsburgh Steelers will travel to Cleveland Sunday, 1 p.m. Game 1. Steelers, 4-point favorites. Over-unders 44. Le'Veon Bell is the biggest name that is out. I believe he's out. He will not play this week.
He hasn't shown up.
Even if he returns.
I don't know if you saw any of the comments from the players, the Steelers, yesterday, did you?
Yeah, it's just business until you don't show up. Now everyone's mad at you.
It's personal now, dude.
Now it's personal. Now the game's here. Whoa! What was all this talk about? This is business.
But the one lineman walking out, he said Le'Veon fucked us.
Well, I understand it from their point of view. They're in there working and making whatever they make, and Le'Veon's sitting out at like $880,000 a game. Yeah. So
the one guy said he makes 1/7 of what Le'Veon Bell makes, and he's here. I mean, dude, usually you don't get that kind of stuff. Usually players will not comment on other people's contracts. Interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting to be sure. EJ Gaines, I think Hugh said today, will not play this weekend. Burgess, limited in practice, DeValve limited in practice, Coley limited in practice, but I believe they did some practice. So we'll see if they play. I don't know what if they practice today or not. I don't have those up yet.
They probably haven't even finished practicing.
And they'll probably have a practice tomorrow or a walkthrough tomorrow.
Practice.
Okay.
Wait, what is tomorrow? Saturday?
So
no, tomorrow's Friday.
Tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, so generally for most teams, if you don't practice Friday, you're not going to play, but
yep,
we'll see where everyone's at. I believe Hugh said Gordon is not going to start, but he is going to play, which means all the plays -1.
Yeah, pretty much. And they even asked him that, and he said, well, it matters what formation we're in. They said, could that mean? Well, if we go to 3 wides, we'll probably be in there.
Yeah, jeez. So that might start the game with 4 wides. Right?
You know what he said yesterday? He said they're just not going to give anything. He's got like Josh Gordon. He's got to earn it, or what does he say? It's basically that's what he's saying. He's just not going to give it to him. Like we it's just not entitled. That's what he said. We don't do entitlement here. And it's like, Hugh, do we not remember what happened last year when Josh Gordon came in for the final 5 games, and you just threw him out there and you threw him the ball 80% of the plays that game, and you acted like he had been here the whole time and he never left? What do you mean we don't do entitled? Hugh he's done a 180. He's done a 180. This whole thing with the way he's treating Baker, this whole thing with the Josh Gordon situation, just everything, he's completely different. It's 100%. He's doing the Costanza thing. Whatever he thought was a good idea last year, he's doing the opposite. It's amazing.
They even gave Gordon a Secret Service nickname, like whatever they called him. The Falcon has landed or whatever.
The big fish is here.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure he's not going to play. I'm sure they're going to punish him. Get the fuck out of here. If they want to win, he's going to have to play. So
we punish people by making them play more, anyways.
Yeah. Do the Browns have a shot here? We don't really have any stats or anything to talk about because it's game 1, but.
Yeah, of course. We're 4-point dogs, home dogs, man. Come on. I mean, look, the Steelers are freaking good. Let's be honest. Some of the guys that here's what's going to be a problem. Offensively, they have Ben Roethlisberger, which is always a problem, and they have Mr. Antonio Brown, who 1,533 yards last year and 9 touchdowns. That was an issue, if you recall. He had like 11 catches last year against us. We had nobody to cover him. We go out. We pick up Denzel Ward. We're hoping Ward can make it harder for Antonio Brown to catch the ball. Now, if we can get out of the game, Antonio Brown has under 100 yards receiving, it's probably a good day for the Browns because, like you said, Le'Veon Bell's not going to be here. But they do have James Conner, who's looked like a different back in the preseason games. I went back. I watched preseason games to see, what are they looking like? James Conner's looking like a stronger runner this year than he was year before. Is he Le'Veon Bell? No, but I think he's serviceable, and I think he's going to do a nice job for them. We were good against the run last year. I expect us to be good against the run again. However, we struggled against tight ends, and that is where the Steelers are kind of light. Vance McDonald, Jesse James, Xavier Grimble. James McDonald can catch the ball. Am I worried that these guys are going to kill us? By no means I am. But you want to take a look at our linebacking core of what it was last year. It's still the same core of guys. You still have Kirksey. You still have Collins. You still have Schobert. Not one of those 3 guys covered a tight end all of last year. Is Greg Williams going to switch things up, make it easier for the linebackers this year? Yet to be seen, but this is what we're hoping for. Also, the guy that I think is a breakout candidate this year is the second-year wide receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster. He's just caught everything in the preseason. Well, not everything, because I did see him have a drop. But he's working the underneath routes. He's almost like their Hines Ward, sort of. He's working the underneath routes. Antonio Brown's going to be working down the field stuff. Outside of him, they have Justin Hunter, who's basically just a speed guy, maybe a Martavis Bryant type of guy to take over for him, and rookie James Washington, who we've studied a lot of James Washington out of Oklahoma State. Undersized, but tough as nails. They have playmakers there. There's playmakers at the wide receiver group. Our secondary is going to have to be very good to deal with those guys. I think we'll be able to handle the run. I think we're going to actually play the tight ends decent. So outside of that, the other really strong point, and probably the strongest thing on this entire Steelers team, is really this offensive line. These guys have been here for a number of years. I don't know exactly how many it's been. It's probably, let's see here, 3 years in a row they've had the same line. So Pouncey in the center, David DeCastro, Ramon Foster is the guards, and Gilbert and Villanueva. Wait a second.
You got it.
Villanueva and Villanueva are the tackles. Villanueva was the one that is talking about being scared of having to go up against 95. 95, we know, of course, is Myles Garrett, and Garrett will hopefully give him a hell of a time. But that is a strong run blocking core 5 and a strong pass blocking. They do everything well, and they're very, very good. So that's going to be a tough matchup for our front four. Hopefully we can apply some pressure. I'm not worried about Garrett. I'm more worried about Agba, and I'm worried to see if Avery is going to have any rust after being out here for a little bit with the injury. It's only been a couple weeks, so. Yeah.
It's going to come down to some pressure, some coverage, stopping the tight ends, maybe get some turnovers.
Got to get turnovers, that's for sure. Whoever wins the turnover battle typically wins the game. We know that, right? So if you go to our offense and the Steelers' defense, they're very good up front again. Like they're in the trenches. The Steelers are good. Stephon Tuitt, he every single time I watch the Steelers, this guy jumps off the screen to me. He's just an enormous man, and he moves really well for his size, and he continues to get it done. Him, Cameron Hayward, Javon Hargrave. It gives them a very good 3 up front that just seems to give us a real. I mean, they get through the line all the time. Every time they play the Browns, they give us hell. Dan McClures is somebody that's been stepping up for him this preseason. So another guy to deal with on the linebacking crew is a little bit different with no Shazier. So Shazier is gone, obviously with that with that injury, and he was replaced by John Bostic and Vince Williams. Bostic came from the Bears, I believe, was drafted there. The only thing he does better than Shazier is tackles. Shazier misses a lot of tackles, but in every other way, Shazier is better. So this is a downgrade with Bostic and Vince Williams. They're not as good there as they have been in the past. On the outside, TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, both very good athletes. TJ Watt can do a little bit of everything, can cover, he can get after a quarterback. Bud Dupree's more of just a pass rush specialist. He's not particularly good. He's good against the run as well. He's not a great player by any means. He was drafted in the first round, hasn't really lived up to that hype, but he's an athletic guy. And depending on, if it's going to be Harrison or if it's going to be the Bitonio, these guys are going to be a good matchup for whoever that left tackle is going to be.
Are they going to make Tyrod hit the underneath passes, just play a bunch of zone, make him make throws?
Yeah, the Steelers, they love to do that. They will. You'll have to beat them underneath. Typically, you can't usually beat them over the top, but they're going to bring a lot of heat. That's what they do. They like to get after the quarterback. So Tyrod, hopefully, that front 5 is pretty solid. Hopefully, they figure out who it's going to be starting today, so they can actually work all together. That would be probably a smart thing for Hugh. And he could be running for his life here, but you got to remember, I think our advantage is going to be in this our wide receivers versus their secondary. Let me just read off their secondary players real quick. Artie Burns, who was a first-round draft pick, but really hasn't lived up to the billing to this point. They have the greatest Clevelander of all time, Joe Hayden, who since going there, he's played fine. I mean, Joe, he's in a better position there. They like to play zone coverage. Joe Hayden is better at zone coverage than what they were trying to do with the Browns when they had him going one-on-one with the best wide receivers in the league. He just was not athletic enough to keep up with them. And then Mike Hilton is going to be the guy that goes out of the slot for the Steelers. Mike Hilton blitzes a lot. They do. It's very odd what the Steelers do with him, but they love to bring him on those corner blitzes. So Tyrod's got to recognize that with him because Hilton's one of the top ones at it. But Artie Burns and Joe Hayden are 100% beatable by if it's not Landry, it's Gordon. If it's not Gordon, it's Callaway. If it's not Callaway, it's Duke. If it's not Duke, it's Njoku. I mean, there are guys on our team that are just better athletes, better players than what these Steelers guys are. And I expect, really that we should be able to take it to the corners. Then you get back to the safeties. I'm not sure. I imagine they're going to be starting Terrell Edmonds. It looks like that's the rookie they picked up in the first round from Virginia Tech. He struggled in coverage in college, but he's very athletic. He hits hard. He tackles. Morgan Burnett came over from the Packers. He'll be the other safety if it's not Sean Davis, yet to be seen there, who they're going to be starting. But once again, not a great back end for the safeties like we're used to. There's no more Troy Polamalu to deal with. So this is where we win, in my opinion. We might not be able to hold up against this pass rush, but if we do, we have the playmakers on the outside to make a ton of plays. So I expect us to have the advantage there. I expect us to be able to run the ball. The Steelers really struggled against the run last year. They were one of the bottom teams in the league. They excelled in the pass game. They excelled at getting the quarterback, a lot of sacks. So if we, like I said, we can protect Tyrod, good things are going to come. And I also expect a heavy dose of, if it's not Hyde, it's going to be Chubb. So it would be interesting. I don't think this is just people see Pittsburgh versus Cleveland, and they just assume Pittsburgh's going to kill them. Well, there's a lot of turmoil right now in Pittsburgh. I don't think this is a given. I think the Browns are healthy. The Pittsburgh Steelers historically start terrible at the beginning of the year. They get off to a slow start every year. They play well in December. That's the way it always is with the Steelers. So this is, if there's a chance that the Browns get one, this Sunday is going to be that one, in my opinion.
All right.
So I was studying up on the Steelers. Do you mind if I read this to you real quick?
Yes, please, quickly.
Okay. This is from a reading from the book of Football Outsiders Almanac 2018. Pittsburgh Steelers chapter. Pittsburgh fired offensive coordinator Todd Haley. Okay, the reason why I'm reading this to you is because I was watching the Jacksonville game from when they played them in, what was it, that divisional round in the playoffs. Yeah. And he had one of the worst fourth down calls here. He runs this just a terrible toss play. And in our preseason, we've talked about it. Remember, we went down, we threw 4 times from the 1 yard line on right? So we talked about it. Is this a Todd Haley thing? Okay. I was like, I'm thinking that might just be a preseason thing until I got to this when I was reading today. So that's why I'm going to read this to you now. Pittsburgh fired offensive coordinator Todd Haley, a decision which brought with it much rejoicing throughout the Steel City. Haley was able to consistently put together some of the best offenses in the league and deserves credit for helping lower Roethlisberger's sack rate and improving his completion percentage. Roethlisberger's numbers were better under Haley than under previous coordinator Bruce Arians. If you're looking up someone to design an offensive scheme from the ground up, Haley is a very good choice. On game days, however, Haley becomes much less valuable. His game plans and situational play calling were sketchy at best. In short yardage and third down situations especially, Haley had a habit of being too cute for his own good, often finding excuses to throw bubble screens or take deep shots or run slow developing pitch plays rather than having the best running back in football or the biggest quarterback in football plow forward for 6 inches. Roethlisberger hasn't run a quarterback sneak since 2015, which is nearly coaching malpractice. Pittsburgh ranked 6th in rushing DVOA in 2017, but 27th when rushing on third down. That's not Le'Veon Bell's forgot how to run on third downs. That's a product of trying to overcomplicate things and push the envelope, running jet sweeps and misdirection rather than simply letting the best collection of offensive talent in the league overpower people. In addition, Haley had a long-running and much publicized feud with Big Ben. While it's not necessary for a coordinator and his quarterback to be BFFs and go to ice cream socials and spend the offseason riding dirt bikes together or anything in order to have success, it's also not ideal for the two to be in a Hatfield-McCoy local feud, having fired shots at one another ever since they are brought in together in 2012. By the end of last season, Roethlisberger had reportedly recruited other members of the coaching staff to serve as a buffer between him and Haley and convinced Mike Tomlin to move quarterback coach Randy Fichtner from the press box to the sideline. This relationship between the two had pretty much deteriorated beyond repair.
Damn.
I read that.
I knew they didn't get along, but...
Well, that was just part of it. The part where he tries to get way too cute, that's something we're going to have to watch for, because now I'm really worried about it. Before I'm going, all right, I'll just let this one go. It's preseason. I think Haley would do some different things. And then when I'm watching that Jags game, he runs this pitch play on 4th down and inches, and I'm just like, what the hell was that? What are you doing? You got the best damn offensive line that there is in the game. Run the ball right down their throats. They haven't run a QB sneak since 2015 with Ben Roethlisberger? Are you kidding
crazy.
me? Tom Brady runs one a week.
Especially with Roethlisberger being that big. Like, I can't believe you didn't use him just to go forward.
Yes. So, anyways, I wanted to read that. And that, like I said, that was Football Outsiders Almanac 2018, if anybody wants to pick it up. Aaron Schatz from Football Outsiders is the guy who wrote it with those guys over there. They do really good work.
Cool. Anything else on the preview?
No, but we are going. Oh, what's your score?
24-10 Steelers.
Wow. The negativity coming from your side of the pod. 77-7 Browns.
Easy win.
Easy win, as usual. All right, what do we have next?
We got to do some predictions. Let's start with win-loss. I'll give the Browns 5-11. I'm going to give them 4 wins. They're going to win week 3 at home against the Jets. They're going to win on the road in Tampa. And then they're going to win the last 2 games of the year. At home against the Bengals and on the road against the Ravens. That's 4 wins. And then I get 1 wild.
I don't have a schedule in front of me, but I'm trying to find one. Predicting wins is, it's fine in practice, but it's kind of, it only matters what your health is, right? So if you're not healthy, you're not going to win a lot of games. If you're healthy, if the Browns are healthy and you keep all the players that you really need, Myles Garrett's and Josh Gordon's, and they play 16 games, you're going to win more games than if Myles Garrett and Josh Gordon is hurt, right or wrong. So if I'm guessing,
I don't even know who our quarterback is probably
right.
through most of the season.
For the Browns, you definitely don't know because you're on quarterback 4 by mid-season half the time. But I think the Browns have, if they stay healthy, they are an 8-8 team in my opinion. If they have injuries like by the guys that I just talked about, if you miss Myles Garrett for any length of period of time, you're going to be in trouble. And you could be 4 to 6 wins. So my guess would be 4 to 8 wins, but I'm more on the optimism side here that if you stay healthy, you're going to be able to win a lot of these games. I think we at least beat each team in our division once. That would be 5 games. Tampa Bay's a win. Raiders are a win. These are all beatable teams. I'm not saying, a lot of times you split these games.
Yeah, that's a road game in Oakland. That's a tough game. On the road in Tampa, probably not that big of a deal.
The Jets are terrible. The Jets are terrible.
They got to go to Denver, and they got to go to Houston.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are tough games. So, but that's the other thing. So when you factor this in, it's easy to go, well, there's no chance that we can beat Atlanta, right? Typically.
Yeah, but they could.
You could if Matt Ryan's hurt. So what if Matt Ryan's hurt? So then you end up getting a win against it. This is the way the whole thing plays out. It's fine that you do it. I would say a fair forecast for the Browns is probably 6 wins if you're just to go, all right.
6-10.
Yeah, but I think they could definitely overplay that, and I think they could I think it's a lot more likely that they play over 6 wins than they play under, honestly, if they stay healthy anyways. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I guess if you stay healthy, it gives you a little bit of a boost because other teams are going to, get banged up a little bit.
It's crazy how much that affects everything. Look at Green Bay. You lose Aaron Rodgers. Your team goes from chance to go to Super Bowl to can't even barely beat the Browns. It's that simple, right? That's the problem, and that's what it comes down to. And it's going to be the same thing for the Browns. It's just not going to be, if Tyrod gets hurt, you still have Baker to come in, so you're fine there. That's. But if Myles Garrett is out, who's picking up that production? Nobody. If you're missing Josh Gordon, who's picking up that production? Landry will do some of it. You're screwed. You're screwed. Right? Exactly. So that's where I'm at. 6-10, but all the way up to 8 wins or so.
Is 6 wins enough for Hugh to make it to 2019?
I hope not. Fired. I'm predicting Hugh gets fired no matter what.
No matter what?
If they go to the playoffs, Hugh's getting fired. The dude got fired last year after he made the playoffs. The coach for Malarkey. And it would probably be smart of them to do it in Cleveland.
Yeah. I almost wouldn't be surprised either way if Hugh doesn't make it through.
They have a tough schedule, honestly.
Dude, there's really no easy home games. Steelers, Jets, Ravens.
Jets are easy. Jets should be a win, especially with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. Chargers, Chiefs, Falcons, Panthers, Bengals.
I saw somebody today on Twitter had put out their predictions, and they had a check mark, so they must somehow they earned a check mark. They had Kansas City going to the Super Bowl, and I look at that Kansas City defense, and they're terrible. And you have basically a rookie quarterback. Guys play one game in the league. I don't know how good is Kansas City honestly going to be. Can we beat Kansas City? I think that's a winnable game. They have obviously the Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. They got playmakers there. They got a good team, but the defense is pitiful. That's a winnable game.
Yeah, maybe they're just giving the Chiefs a bump because the Raiders probably aren't going to be any good. Well, the Broncos should be okay, and the Chargers should be okay. That's not an easy division.
The Chargers are a good team. The Chargers are a very good team. Denver
that's not a joke division.
No, but the Raiders are going to be terrible, I think. I think the Raiders are going to be terrible, and I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to underperform. But
yeah, that'd be fair.
And we play all 4 of those teams.
Basically the rookie.
Yep.
But the NFC division we play is not a slot. I mean, the Buccaneers are probably not going to be that great.
They're going to be terrible.
Winston will be back for the game that we play there.
Yeah.
What's he out for 4?
Yep, that helps them. The coach hasn't even said that he was going to play Winston for sure. That helps them, obviously, getting Winston back, but that's a terrible defense as well. New Orleans is a hell of a team. Chances are we lose that one. Carolina's pretty damn good team.
Yeah, Carolina.
Pretty damn good team.
And the Falcons.
And the Falcons are yeah. So you got 3 really good teams, 1 really bad team. That's 3 tough games. So yeah, I mean, if we get 1 out of 4, that's probably what I expect out of those ones. But what do you think about our division? Because that's really what it comes down to. We play 6 games in our division.
I don't think the Ravens are that good, and I don't think the Bengals are that good, but I don't know. We haven't won any division games in like 14 years. So
true. Ravens defense is very good. Offensively, they're a little suspect right now. And I guess you could probably say the same thing about the Bengals. Bengals offensive line's terrible. They added a little bit to it, so maybe they should be better. Defense is pretty decent, but they still are throwing Andy Dalton out there. And then the Steelers.
If we had a shot to sweep a division rival, I would say it's the Ravens, because you play them at home in week 5, and then you play them in what could possibly be a meaningless game in week 17 on the road. I think those 2 are winnable. We also play the Bengals the second to the last week.
Yeah.
That could be meaningless for both teams, and I think we can win that as well. Wouldn't be surprised Mayfield's playing
actually
by the first time we play the Bengals in November.
Oh, yeah. Well, because our bye week's the 11th.
That would be coming out of the bye week, yeah.
Yep. I like getting the Steelers early because hopefully this turmoil is ongoing. We get them week 1 and week 8, and then we're done with them because they usually play their best ball at the end. They always typically start off slow and then really come on good at the end.
That could be an interesting season. That's not a joke schedule by any means.
But there's winnable games there. Like, can we beat Houston? Yeah. Yes, of course we can beat Houston. Houston can also kill us.
Yeah. It's almost easier to make predictions about the team after game 1, and we see what kind of like defense Greg Williams is going to put out there and what their plan is.
Yeah, like, have we even seen our defense play anybody? Well, we're going to this week. We're going to see them against one of the best quarterbacks in the league and one of the best offenses. I mean, the Steelers' offense has been one of the best offenses for a number of years now. This is a test. Miles Garrett is playing so far. As long as Miles Garrett stays healthy, I think Miles Garrett has a chance to be feasting on Sunday.
Let's go to these. These sometimes are stupid, but how about the Browns MVP for the year?
Miles Garrett. What do you think?
Yeah, Garrett, I would say for sure. Could definitely lead the league in sacks and tackles for loss and all kinds of
fun stuff.
Crazy metrics, yeah. So that really, the defensive player of the year, you've already mentioned. How about the offensive player of the year?
Baker Mayfield. No. Josh Gordon, if he stays with the team.
Yeah. And rookie of the year, Mayfield, if he plays.
Ooh, let's go. Yeah, I think Denzel Ward, because Denzel Ward's going to have more opportunity than anybody else.
Yeah, so if he shows up and is able to cover some of these wide receivers, he's going to have some tests right out of the gate.
Let's speak on that real quick. So Antonio Brown, week 1. Mike Thomas, week 2. The Jets, Robbie Anderson's underrated big time. Then you got Cooper. The Baltimore, really, they got Crabtree and they got John Brown from Arizona, so that's doable. The Chargers have the really good slot guy. Is completely slipping my mind. I can picture his beard, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah. Then Mike Evans. Then Antonio Brown again.
Yep. Tyreek Hill.
Pat Mahomes.
Julio Jones. Woo! AJ Green. That's a tough schedule. Oh, my God. Jeez. The kid from the Texans. I can't remember.
Hopkins.
Yeah, I can't remember the best wide receivers in the game's name, man. Come on. Good Lord.
Yeah.
We've been recording for over an hour and 20 minutes. Maybe that's why. Yeah, so that's a tough matchup for Ward, but hey, man, I think he's an upgrade over anything we had last year. And if we can get to that quarterback, Mr. Avery is going to be a key component of that. Mr. Garrett, Mr. Agba, Ogunjobi, get to the quarterback, let Ward cheat up on these wide receivers, get some interceptions. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Let's talk about the prediction of how we fare against tight ends as a linebacker group.
Well, what's changed?
Is this going to be an improvement?
What's changed?
I don't know. Hopefully just a better system, or that Collins has looked better in the preseason and maybe he's ready to play.
One thing I did notice was Peppers was on Ertz in that game. Are we going to see more of that? Peppers covering the tight end? And he looked good doing it. That's been my one question with Jabril Peppers. I was always worried about it. I mean, that's going back to college. He didn't do a lot of that. There was not a lot of man coverage with Jabril Peppers covering anyone. But he did a good job against one of the best tight ends in the league, Zach Ertz. Is he going to be able to do that on a weekly basis? Well, let's hope so. I want to see, you lose Kendricks. This is opportunity not to go and get another linebacker to put out there. This is an opportunity to get Peppers and Kindred on the field at the same time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
That's what we need more of that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're getting beat by tight ends over and over and over. Let's try some different shit this year.
I'm with you.
Any sleeper players let's do a sleeper player that you expect to overperform and a sleeper rookie.
Desmond Harrison.
Nice.
I said last week I fully expect him not to start. It almost seems like more and more that they're getting to the point where Desmond Harrison might be the starter. Seems like they would rather put Bitonio in at left guard and then put Harrison out at left tackle. Undrafted guy. That's I'd say this is a big time sleeper. I mean, this is coma type selection here. I'm gonna go, shooting from the hip here. Desmond Harrison. If he starts from day one, he's gonna be the guy we didn't expect anything out of, and we get something from.
I'm gonna go with Antonio Callaway.
Good one.
Picking on the third corner with Gordon taking doubles and Landry getting a little bit extra attention. Njoku taking extra attention. Maybe Callaway can get some one-on-ones and make some plays down the field. Player overall, I don't know if he's a sleeper, but my most improved is definitely going to be Peppers off of last year, doing hopefully just something completely different this year, and we won't have to hear the shit about him not being a good choice.
Most improved?
Or just like a sleeper, but not a rookie.
Give me Jamie Collins, most improved.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Why? I don't know.
Good one.
Why not? Because he hasn't done a goddamn thing. Actually, I think they're going to have him in a better spot for him. Now that you get Avery as that outside blitz guy, and if Avery can stay healthy, I think Jamie Collins is going to be back in the middle, back to where he should have been last year, and attacking the A gap when he blitzed, not as an edge guy.
Oh, interesting. Got any more of these little interesting things to...
Mayfield by week 11, after the bye, week 12. I mean, I could see that, depending on the record.
Yeah, to start the last 6 games.
Yep.
That would be a sensible spot to put him in if... I don't know what their record has to be there after 10 games to put him in, but...
Out of the playoffs. You can't... If they have a chance to make the playoff and Tyrod's been in there, they're not going to pull him out like the Bills did to Tyrod last year.
Yeah.
I mean, okay,
well,
what if the Browns are winning? Let me ask you this. If the Browns are winning games, but Tyrod just isn't... The Browns defense is winning it, and Tyrod just average. He's just fine. Hugh probably rides him out, right? Even though Mayfield might give him a little bit more.
Unless Tyrod's losing you games, then I don't think they would go away from Tyrod. And Tyrod's not the kind of quarterback that's going to lose you games. He's just not going to win you any.
You know what it reminds me of is I'm not these the player comparisons are not perfect or anything, but Alex Smith getting replaced by Kaepernick. Alex Smith was just sort of like Tyrod. He's just gone out there, not losing your games, not making mistakes. And then they make that change to Kaepernick where it just puts him over the top. It adds a different dimension to it. They already had a really good defense. They put Kaepernick in there, and then they're just slaughtering people. And they ride that all the way to the Super Bowl. Ultimately lose the Super Bowl, but he took them there.
Yeah.
You know, that... I don't know, man. I think that's what it looks like. Baker, to me, is a step above Tyrod, I think. We'll see. I don't want to say it yet. Tyrod's got to go out, play this week. Maybe Tyrod will prove me wrong, and I hope he does.
Yeah. I mean, if they beat the Steelers, go down, beat the Saints, you got a chance to rattle off 5 wins in a row. You know, Jets, Raiders, Ravens.
Yep. Those are winnable. You
could be 5-0, and then Chargers come into town. That's best case scenario for Tyrod. Worst case scenario is
0-5.
You lose against the Steelers. You lose against the... Well, yeah. I mean, but you know what I mean? Just play terrible. Again, what if you lose week 3 against a rookie quarterback?
If we lose the Jets again, I'll be up on the roof contemplating jumping off. I can't. The fact that we lost that game last year is still hurting my head, and if they do it again, I don't know if I can take it anymore. I will march on Berea until Hugh gets fired.
I wonder where they would have to pull the trigger, and I'm saying if Tyrod's playing terrible, because if they lose to the Steelers and the Saints, no one's going to be like, well, all right, everyone's going to be like, all right. Yeah. But you got the Jets on a short week after the Saints. You know, you're coming back for Thursday, and the Jets are also coming back on a short week.
But, that is. That's a Thursday night game. You're right.
Yeah. And then you got that long road trip out to Oakland. Dude, if Tyrod's 0-4, boy, it's tough. If you're 0-4, the Ravens coming into town, and you got your number 1 overall pick sitting on the bench, and everyone's going, what for? We're what if they just really don't look good?
Yeah.
I could see that as that's probably Tyrod's earliest exit. I don't know if they would let them go 0-5 or 0-6. I don't think so. I think if they lose the Jets and the Raiders games, I would have to turn the ball over. This is all
absolutely
hypothetical.
No, I'm with you. Yeah. All right. You got anything else?
No, I think we can probably wrap it up. Football is back. Long show here. I hope you guys survived the show. There's a lot of info in there. Twitter at STS Podcasts. Email surviving the season at gmail.com. Patreon.com/STS Podcasts if you want to support the show.
Hey, how about some reviews, people? How about if you go on iTunes and you download our show, how about you throw in a review for the hell of it?
I like it.
All right.
I like it. Why not? It's super easy to do. Thank you guys for listening.
#Road to Redemption. It's happening this week.
It's starting this week, so let's see. Tell them what we say.
keep on surviving.